Thank you so much, Carrie. I'm really glad to be here. So can you all hear me all right? All right. So the topic today is the clear bead at the center changes everything. And it's from one of my favorite famous Rumi poems. And I want to read it to you. And I know that you all understand the power of words, and many of you are writers. And so I just really wanted to bring something that was really juicy today, that not only reflected the point of this talk, which is unity and how to live it, but also a way to address the moment in time that we're living in today, where, unlike I think any other time in our known history, we need to understand what it means to live in unity and to be the pattern, to know that we are the pattern, to know that there is a pattern that connects us all. And so the clear bead at the center is a way to stay in that groove, in that mindset. So I want to share that, and then I'm going to read it slowly, and if anyone likes, well, you can find it online. It's very easy. You just Google it. You just Google Rumi's poems, and this one's called The Clear Bead at the Center Changes Everything. The clear bead at the center changes everything. There are no edges to my loving now. I've heard it said that there's a window that opens from one mind to another. But if there's no wall, then there's no need for fitting in a window or a latch. The clear bead at the center changes everything. There are no edges to my loving now. I've heard it said that there's a window that opens from one mind to another. But if there is no wall, there is no need for a window or a latch. So this teaching from Rumi has been part of my life for a long time. And the spiritual journey, how I see it, of course I could be wrong, I often am, but the way I see it is that that's the purpose of our spiritual journey, is to find that clear bead that works for you, your clear bead, your way of extrapolating the one clear bead. Now, there's a million clear beads or more, however many, 6 billion people, 7 now. You know, when Indra's net was first described, I think it would have been unfathomable to think that there would be 7 billion people in the world. But in that story, that Hindu story of Indra's net, every intersection, every time the lines crossed, there was a jewel. And it was the expression of humanity. That it's so beautiful image that every place that it crosses, every crossroad, every time the paths cross, there is a jewel that is one person. And every person matters, because without that point of contact at that intersection, without that clarity of point right there, then the net wouldn't have its strength, it wouldn't have its resilience, it wouldn't have its utility, it wouldn't have its beauty, unless we each knew that we were a jewel on that net. And we each knew that each other was a jewel on that net. Now that's a tradition from people that, I don't know how many of us know how many Hindus or very much about the Hindu religion. But in my mind, how I describe religion is that all roads lead home. That's what I believe. That all roads lead to the same place, that they're all just different ways of describing the same thing. That clear bead at the center, that same thing. And I'm inviting you, if you have paper and pencil, to make notes. And if you don't, then just put in the chat or say out loud at the end of the talk today, would somebody send me your notes? Because there's some things today to share that I think will be very useful for us in the fifth principle of unity, which is living it. Because we can flap our lips all we like about how much we know. And we can sing about it, and we can write about it, and we can preach about it, and we can tell other people about it, and we can teach about it, and still not live it. I know, because I've gone through all those stages, and sometimes I fall back into them. I didn't know the difference when I began. I didn't know the difference between knowing something and being something. I thought I did. So I'm so grateful I've lived long enough to get to the place where I know this difference, that there is a way to be this clear bead, this jewel on the net. It's our destiny. It's here for every one of us, no matter what we think about ourselves or our past. This is our purpose, to shine our light. And we can't shine it if we're not clear about what it is. And if you don't keep it clear by actively doing and being it, such a gift to be alive today. In the midst of all of this terrible news and all of these frightening things, and the level of worry that is stirred up, which in my opinion is excessive. We do not need to know this story every moment of every day. We need to know how to filter it out, and how better to filter it out than to use that clear bead. I remember Michael Beckwith, one of my teachers long ago, saying, hey, here's how I use the news. Every time there's something there that I just know is people are struggling with or suffering, is a call to prayer. It's a call to prayer. And that's what the Course in Miracles says. Every conflict, every cry, every anger, every blame, it's a call for love. And that's the clear bead. The clear bead is God is all there is. There's a little acronym. A friend of mine, a minister in San Francisco years ago, started a listserv for ministers, and he called it GIATI. And I heard this talking about GIATI. What the heck is GIATI? GIATI. God is all there is. GIATI. It's a great code word. God is all there is. That is the clear bead. And someone, you're finding yourself in a mixed crowd, and you really want to practice that fifth principle, because you want to allow yourself to be that which you are. And someone's complaining, and you say to yourself, GIATI. GIATI. And you smile. And you remember that that person who's so upset and who might even want you to join them, because misery loves company. And you don't need to. You smile and you say, hey, it's great to see you, Harry. Have a great day. And you say to yourself, Gianni. That's Harry. Who's Harry? Gianni. That's, if we do nothing more, we can just sit back and sing now. If we catch that, that's really the whole deal. And, I'm starting to get the principles, and they're very familiar to me. Because if Gianni is true, well, then, of course, that's all I am too. I am not my past failures. I am not my age, my body's shape or size or predilection or my thought process. I am not those things. Those are my habits. Those are my beliefs about myself, maybe. But they're not me. Me is Gianni. Because if Gianni is true, if God is all there is, then that means all the time. Not just when it's convenient, not just on Sundays, not just in the class. All of the time when I'm falling on my face or trying to control someone or helping because I feel so much better when I do, which is just a subtle or not so subtle form of control. So Gianni can save us. It's like a net, just like Indra's net. When we can see our neighbors like jewels on the net, we change our perspective about them. We don't see them as the one who never opens the blinds and doesn't really have any interests and is just waiting to kick the bucket. That's not true. They have a story. Everybody does. There's something wonderful, and there's a yearning for more. And we cannot go and give it to them, and we cannot say, hey, what are you yearning for? Maybe I can help. We don't need to do any of those things. But what if we just right here from the comfort of our porch, we can know Gianni is all there is, that Gianni here, Gianni there, everywhere Gianni. Tom, you could write a song about here Gianni, there Gianni, everywhere Gianni. So it's such a powerful tool to remember this. So I'd like you to ask yourself, I love questions, and what's your clear bead? Every one of the principles of life are ways of translating Gianni. Every single one. So unity is the main principle in which all other principles reside. It is the mother of the sourdough. It's the mother of the vinegar. It's the mother of the hope. It's the mother of the possibility. So when you're feeling like it's all vinegar and everything is kind of bitter, you remember that in the heart of that vinegar is a mother. And that mother is Gianni. It's all there is, and it's just expressing as vinegar, but you don't have to see it like vinegar. You can remember what's your clear bead, what's your version of Gianni, what's your version of unity, what is the way, what is your touchstone, what is the rock on which you stand. So I just invite you today, and we're going to do some practical things today because we've all heard all these sermons. I mean, I remember ministers saying to me, oh my gosh, 52 weeks a year, I have to find a new way to talk about the same thing. And I've been in the pulpit 43 years. I mean, there is not anything new. But that's not true, because every single day we're new. Every single day, and we have the full range of capacity to be creative. But I want to start with asking you, and then asking you to remember, write it down if you can, tell somebody if you're with somebody. What is your clear bead at the center? What is your part of this infinite truth? that matters most to you, that is your true north, the thing that brings you back to yourself, no matter what. I have a wonderful new client, and a practitioner client. So I do counseling every week with her, and she's having a hard time. And at the same time, she is like so ripe to shift into the half full cup, into feeling herself as one of those jewels on the net, into knowing that she has so much to give and born on purpose. And God just put me there to remember for myself how to deductively arrive at it again, or how to mystically arrive at it again. I sing and I pray, and I just go into the depths of my teaching and hope that something works for her. I mean, it is so much fun. I have such a great time just surrendering into, my prayer is use me. So I say to the infinite, just, use me, do whatever, just show me. I'll follow, which is really great for a recovering control addict. It's just really great to have a prayer called use me and I'll follow. So first we need to know what is our version of that clear bead that Rumi's speaking of, because when we have it, then it unfolds in our life so that we come to understand the wisdom, because when we're in that clear bead, there's no edges. There's no us and them anymore. My first teacher said, there's only one prayer: heal the separation. That was Susan. Susan told me that. Heal the separation. Susan White. You remember her, Tom? She was Doris's assistant. Heal the separation. That's the only prayer. Wherever I feel like I'm not worthy or I'm not, God help me. Oh, God's already helped you. He's birthed you. Now be it. And if you can't be it, then go into ourselves and ask, who am I? Who am I? And remember that you're Jyoti in the way that only you can be. Nobody can be you. I remember hearing a comic, I don't know who it was, saying, and I know I felt like this myself, I often wished I could be like my sister. I have great siblings, but my one sister is just more quiet and more introspective and wise, but doesn't need to talk about it all the time. And often, I wished I could be like her. My father used to make a game of it at the dining room table. Let's see if Barbara can be still for a minute. Well, it was funny and we all laughed, but it also hurt. But it took me a long time to unpack that hurt and realize that my father was just trying to engage all of us. He was just like teasing. He knew that I had a lot to say and do, and I needed to be tough to do what I needed to do in my life, and I am. I became very tough. I became so tough, I almost forgot that there's a clear bead at the center that isn't me. It's something beautiful. It's the essence of life. I don't know if anybody else has ever had that experience where you've lost your way almost, thinking that you're it. And I said to my client this week, listen, when my sponsor said to me that when the pain of holding on becomes greater than the pain of letting go, you will let go, I just was in shock. How could I ever let go? But he already had his clear bead. He knew what that was. And he was bringing it to me. And that's what we're all doing. That's what Hope does as a doctor. That's what we all do all the time. To the best of our ability, we're bringing our clear bead into the world. And how glorious it is when we find a way that our clear bead really serves without us needing to be so important about it. We're just joyful to see the clear bead in somebody else, even when they don't see it. I mean, I had a conversation this week with someone who's a very clear bead, and we found ourselves saying something like, "Thanks for seeing me." Because there's nothing that feels quite so wonderful as being seen and heard for who you really are. So this clear bead is so great, it can move mountains. So I wanted to share with you how I work with it myself. This is how I usually do talks. And today I decided to abandon really doing the talk and actually show you a structure that I use so that I can be this talk, so that you can practice this talk. So it's pretty rudimentary, and sometimes it's a lot prettier, but I just did this morning to show you. And I have hundreds of these for most of the talks that I do. I follow the same process. And so I don't know, let's see if we can make it visible here. All right, can you see that? Yeah, nod if you can see it. I'll explain it. Was that a yes or a no?
That was a no.
You can't see it. All right.
Cannot. Too small.
Well, I'll read it to you, but do you see the diagram?
Yes.
All right. So in the center, it's your clear bead. And so it's really important to know what your clear bead is. Mine is Giatti in Peace First. And I then draw 4 lines from the center, and they go to the diagonals. You see that? They go to the diagonals. On the bottom, it's the principle. Principle. Unity is the principle. Unity means all of us, all the time. Not just some of us, not just the ones we like, not just our favorites, all of us, all the time. And on the top section, when you draw the diagonals, it's cultivate possibility. That's our job. That's how to come to live it. We cultivate this first principle of unity, of this clear bead, of Giatti, God is all there is. And so there's many ways to cultivate it. And each time, we cultivate it, we're breaking up the soil, and then we're planting the seed, and the seed grows and possibilities emerge. But between this principle that says we're all connected and this possibility of the greatness that we've just created through our life, there's 2 other practices. So the first practice over here is to release. Oh no, is that, yeah, over here. That's to release. So what do I need to release in order to live this principle? So this is, practice number 1 is keep Giatti in mind. And here, practice number 2 is to do that. What are the ways that I can do that? I realize that, I must release what's in the way and how I am separating myself in my thought, word, and deed. And there's lots of ways to release things. And then over here, we must embrace. We must make welcome. This is the next practice, practice number 3, to make welcome. We don't have to be it. We don't have to know how. We just need to make it welcome by giving it space. And the only way we can give it space is to get rid of all the stuff that's occupying that space right now. And then the result of that is we have possibilities. So this is just my little formula. And I'm going to get a graphic person to design, do something with this so it's really pretty. But I want you to see that there's this groundswell of energy when you have your clear bead in the center of your life, and it sits on, like Peter on the rock, it sits on this foundation of principle. You get to decide which principle, which is your clear bead, your extrapolation of unity. How does that work for you? But we do know that unity means all of us, all the time. And in the world that we're living in today, where there is so much polarity and so much fear and so much division, planned for, calculated, strategized, or just, being at the effect of it, it's all just forgetting our truth. But what if when we're forgetting our truth, we're blaming those people that are making this happen? What happens to our living our truth then at that moment? When we go, yeah, and then, where did the unity go? This is the hardest part of this teaching, is that we have to live this truth of unity. Or, do you get that? Do you feel that too? I know we all get it, but do you feel that? That this is our crucible. This is it. It is no longer sufficient to know it and to check it and to underline in the book, say, yeah, I got that. It's no longer sufficient. Once we have a sense of that clear bead, then we're disingenuous when we're just checking and we're not living it. We know that. And if we consciously don't align with that clear bead and we get caught with neighbors and the angry people, then our punishment, it's not like God punishes us. There's nothing to that. We are punished by our sins, not for them, by them. So our punishment for forgetting is greater than if we were unconscious and we didn't know there was a clear bead and we really believed that duality was the real thing and we all had to just be better than the other guy to protect ourselves. Then, the harm that comes to us is still not great. But when we're unconscious, but if we're conscious and we know that God is all there is, it's harder. Not because God wants us to suffer, not because God's not even involved in that. That's just the natural law. It is done as you believe. So if you believe that it's okay to think one thing and believe one thing but live another, then just go and see how that works. It doesn't work so well. And if life isn't working so well, it's usually because, we're not in alignment with our clear bead. And when we are, we can look at ourselves and laugh instead of blame ourselves. We can say, oh my gosh, there I am again, still thinking I know better. I do it all the time with my kids. I can't tell you. I just don't want to tell them how to do things. But every once in a while, the mother in me that had to hold on to everything for so long just to keep from sinking the ship, every once in a while, that mother is at the helm again going, wait, let's see, where can I steer this? And then, my son will say, Mom, I'm 50. Or my daughter will say, I got to go now. So I now know what those things are. They're code for, would you leave me alone? Would you trust me? And really. And I know better. And we all do. And we still all do it. But if we can do it and laugh at ourselves, we're making progress. And then we can call. I can't tell you how many, confessions. I'm glad I was a Catholic for a while because I really understand the value of confession. So I can confess, and it's not just a strategy. It's really true. It's like, oh, there I was. I'm sorry. I forgot myself. And that's really true. We do. We forget ourselves. So when somebody around you is forgetting themselves, instead of getting on your high horse and going, well, who the heck do you think you are? You can just, in your heart, you can just Giatti them. You just go, wow, I forgot myself too. And you don't have to say a word. You just know it. And the power of that energy, of you knowing that that's what's happening, somebody's just forgotten themselves. The power of you seeing them brings you back into the Gandhian practice of ahimsa. That practice of ahimsa, which means nonviolence, is to do no harm to anyone, to yourself or to anyone. I took 2 things in my arms to Ukraine on my first trip, besides my computer on my backpack. And they were in a bag, wrapped up in towels, and I kept them in my arms. And one was a statue. It's a real heavy bronze statue by the artist in Sonoma County. Gordon Punt is the sculptor. And God, I wish he was, I don't know where he is. I'd love to see him again. But I have a bust of Gandhi and a bust of Martin Luther King. Because ahimsa was what I yearned for. And actually what I thought I knew. I didn't. I intellectually understood it. I'm beginning to learn now what it is. So the world needs it. It needs it now. And so I want to end with a tiny little exercise that will support all of us to change something. And so the word, as Carrie said this morning, is compassion. So you can use that word, but I'm going to ask you to consider using the word love. Like I love the word peace, because for me, peace opens the door. But as Rumi says, if there's no door, then you don't need a handle. So now I'm confronted with my idea that peace is my handle. I am going to find another metaphor. But this exercise is to support me to know more about Giatti. So I'm going to ask us to use the word love. And I learned this exercise today at 8:30 while I was sitting once again with one of my teachers, Sandra Jackson in West Georgia. And I go to her service whenever I can. And she was one of my teachers years ago, and I love this woman. And she knows how to bring the struggle back to principle every time, which is what I seek to do. So here's the exercise. Do you have anyone in your life that really bugs you? I don't mean the hardest person, not the one that you're not going to be able to do this about because it's like master's school. We're talking about kindergarten, first grade level. Is there somebody that just kind of bugs you, and every time you hear them talk, it's like, or they come by, it's like, or you don't answer the phone because you don't want to talk to them? Do you have anybody like that? Just show me if you do. Just raise your hand. Okay, good. Most of us have someone. Carrie doesn't. Well, blessed be. I'm glad, Carrie. So I want to be like you. So let's just, in our own mind right now, just, if you could, just close your eyes for a second and just bring that person into your mind. Name that person. Because if you're willing, then this is going to be something you're going to work on for a month and prove to yourself the power of Giatti. So pick someone that, you'll have interaction with, you'll have cause to see or hear from. You may never talk to them, but they need to show up and irritate you enough to make this work. All right, so if you all have that, so I'm doing it right along with you. So I've got my person. So now ask yourself, why specifically does that person bug me? What are the specific things? Because it's not enough to know, because you can't change
Because
if
she's a
what you don't
man
know.
in power. That would release
Somebody's
me.
mic just came on. I'm not sure whose that is. But anyway, I know that Harker will take care of it. So you write the name of that person, and you write or you think about why they bug you. Just shortly. Doesn't have to be everything. All right. So here's the first assignment. Every time you see them, of course, the first step is Giatti. Even when you're still bugged and irritated, you just say it, Giatti. And then you seek to know something about that person. Now, maybe you can even ask them. Maybe the interaction will allow you to instead of saying, yeah, thanks a lot, well, I got to run now. Maybe instead of that, you could say, well, and why did you go? Or what was that event like? Or, hey, I've got a couple of minutes. Do you want to tell me about it? You can engage. You can seek to know something about them. Instead of just deciding that, you don't want to even have any contact. But you could say, hey, I've always wondered about this. Like I could say to my person, you've traveled so much. Where was your favorite place? Something. You can just learn and then watch and discover what that feels like to be interested. Watch them respond to your interest. Imagine. It might just change something. But you're not trying to change them. You're changing yourself. You're choosing to be different. You're choosing to be your clear bead. So I forget the way Sandra did it is she said, say after me, I am love. So say, I am love. So we're going to practice this from the place of love, because that was Gandhi's teaching. That was Martin Luther King's teaching. That is the nonviolent teaching. We do not resist. We are love. We do no harm to anyone. And so when I'm hanging up fast or not answering, it's because I'm saying in my mind, I don't like that person. And that energy goes right on out into the cosmos. Not only does it reach that person, it comes back to me multiplied and spilling over in other experiences I don't like. All right, so the second step is to learn something and actually see if you can muster up some interest. And you'll find that it's not hard, actually. And then you do spiritual mind treatment, or you do affirmative prayer, or you do whatever form of spiritual practice, meditation that you like. I like writing out a prayer. And the prayer is for me to be the person that can love this person. Oh, a hummingbird just came right up to the window and looked right in at me just at that instant. Mercy me. Thank you, God. To be the person that can love someone, not need to even like the way they behave, but just to do no harm. To do no harm, to be willing to be the person that has no need to be right and judge and blame and criticize. And inside of that prayer, we have to turn away from the story, right? We can't keep telling the story about that person, because the more we tell the story, the deeper the story gets. I remember once Mary Shelton told a story about, you have this pattern and it gets like a groove in a record. Remember those old LPs? And the needle would get stuck because there would be a little piece of dirt on it and it would start a little groove, and pretty soon you needed a ladder to get out of that groove. Well, that's the way life can be if we're not careful. So we need to turn away from the condition and focus only on Jyoti. No matter what the past was, we are changing ourselves. We are using this situation with this person to call us to live the unity principle. And whenever you think of them, all month long, you say, you know, the God in me sees the God in you. Namaste. You say Jyoti. You do nothing else. You just do that. But I urge you, I am so excited to do this with this person that I've chosen for myself. Because how can you be free when you're carrying around this baggage? You can't be. And so the possibilities that I cultivate by releasing my need to be right with this person and hold on to my resentment and to let her know about it by the way I roll my eyes or the tone of my voice, I'm ashamed to see those things. But since I'm learning to love myself, I go, good for you, Barbara. Good for you for seeing the truth. Now let's get on with Jyoti. Now let's get on with Jyoti, shall we? That's our assignment this month. And I'm really grateful for it and really grateful for you because I know that you are steeped in this tradition of unity. And this will fall on, it's like a seed on really good soil, and you will do wonderful things with this. I know you will. And that will sparkle up the clear bead that you are in the center of your life. And then we are lifted up by that. And imagine the impact as a community does this work and we discover in just 1 month how we can change by not getting caught by the lowest common thinking, but instead by choosing no harm, by choosing love, by disengaging from any resistance. It will make a tremendous difference in our life. I can't wait to hear what it does for you when I come back the next time. And so I thank you for this time together today. Thank you very, very much. Wherever we are, God is, so therefore all is well. And so I speak my word of gratitude today for the love that flows through and as each one of us in this community, that we allow this love to wash over us, that we allow the pattern that connects us in unity become more and more alive in every day, in every way. It's getting deeper and greater, and we are living this teaching more and more truly. I am so grateful. And I give thanks for each one and all that we bring into the world and for this community. And I know this week is blessed in that we are transformed by this exercise of real compassion, starting with ourselves to free us from the judgment and the complaining and the things that have limited us from living in absolute unity and knowing all the time that everyone is part of us and we are part of them, and that we are free when we are all free. We are free when we're all free. And we can do this first in our mind and heart. And so, with my hand on my heart, I send love to all the people in my life. With my hand on my heart, I send love to all the people in this planet as I recommit to unity consciousness, unity actions, unity demonstrations. Have a great week. Thank you.